Hiya and welcome to the latest episode of the Impact Room. Today I'm joined by Damian Moore from Optiforce. He's a director there. Damian has an extensive amount of experience within resource planning, WFM systems, analytics and performance across a wide range of industries from IT, retail, contact centres, the lot. So Damian, thanks for joining us on the Impact Room and I hope you're well today.
Thanks for having me, Perry.
Good. So, Damian, obviously, just to start things off, we'll start with a kind of a get to know you section. So, do you want to give us a quick elevator pitch, who you are, what you're about, and what your achievements are, really?
Yeah, certainly. I'm director of Optiforce. Started off my career with BT as a resource planning analyst. Spent some time on the phones, so got real sort of cold face experience. And then we eventually worked our way up to planning, forecasting, and scheduling 27 million calls, so lots of good experience in their outsourced division. Then I went to work for a workforce management company, did some other stuff, and then now I'm director of Optiforce, which specialises in shift pattern design and demand forecasting.
Brilliant stuff. Happy days. Thank you very much. So, Damian, obviously, we always start with a bit of a quirky question as well, just to break the ice. And it'll be interesting to find out, where's your favourite travel destination and where do you like to go to? And, just something a bit more unique about yourself.
Yeah, if I get a choice, it tends to be Ibiza. Love the island. It's very authentic. Food's great. Lots of beaches and coves, that sort of thing. Just a wonderful place. So that would be my favourite.
Brilliant stuff. Happy days. So, Damian, obviously, it'll be, as we've mentioned, you've got many years of experience in resource planning and obviously now looking at the scheduling side of things and optimizing resource. But, just asking out of interest, what do you see as the biggest opportunity within the resource planning and analytical and performance space at the moment?
Yeah, a little while ago, I worked on a project, quite an innovative project for a large IT service desk for the head of IT of a retailer, a major retailer. That involved a review of the headcounts because they brought in some predictive analytics and some automated fixing technology into their network, which basically preempted and fixed any issues that were likely to happen. Sometimes the issues didn't exist, but most of the time they were just about to happen. So there was a requirement to review the headcount, a demand analysis, quite an interesting job, multiple tiers of support, and then to plan a new set of rotas around the new demand. So this reduced the support calls that were coming into the desk and also improved the user experience. So I think this sort of AI with predictive analytics is going to be absolutely huge in the future. And resource planners need to be able to understand how that impacts demand and then produce new, flexible and shifts that meet the demand on an ongoing basis.
No, it's a really good point. As you say, obviously resource planners have got to be, flexible with that. As you say, AI and machine learning and it's only going to enable operations to be more effective and efficient, but that will have a huge impact on the plan as well. And I suppose it should be planning's job in a way to highlight the opportunities of efficiency growth, as well as obviously putting the plans in place that this is what it looks like when we do have the efficiency growth. So no, brilliant stuff. And obviously, we've had a real good conversation. Obviously, you mentioned earlier around kind of what Optiforce does and that kind of whole piece of optimizing the resource and stuff. I know you had a real good example of how resource can be optimized in especially in like the retail or hospitality space. I mean, would you be able to share a little bit on that for us?
Yeah, so I worked with another retailer. I work across multi-industry, so do lots of different types of industries, from utilities to big pharma to retailers. And this particular retailer was a convenience retailer, so that's a huge growth market over in Ireland. And the sites that tended to be clusters of sites, where you get 3 or 4 sites that were quite close to each other and people could drive to assist as and when needed. So one of the trends I'm seeing is the ability to have full visibility of full-timers, part-timers and gig economy type resources and be able to see them and roster them in the most effective way. So if one of the sites is short of a particular resource or skill set, then who's the next best person? And it doesn't necessarily mean the most cost-effective person, they could need a certain skill set as well. So having that visibility, and then the communications technology via apps and other methods to get people to the site in a reasonable time, while still maintaining the working time regulations requirements, which are particularly strong in Ireland. So having that full view, I see as an exciting area of innovation for the future, and it will reduce the cost per interaction on employees. So.
That's really interesting, because I think, obviously, as you mentioned there, obviously having that kind of optimizing of the resource. I mean, I suppose it comes back to your point earlier on that predictive analytics as well. If you can see that coming, or see that gap, or whatever it is, to be able to move the resource around it, resource planning was always known as the firefighting function, but I think if actually we're preventing the fires now. It can, obviously, by all this kind of knowledge and insight that we're now providing to the operations, or to our businesses that we're working with, I think, as I say, it does become, that prevention more than, prevention's the best cure, isn't it, really? So that's it. But obviously, another thing that I think that planning's had to develop and grow is around the employee engagement piece as well. It's resource planning was always putting the right people in the right place at the right time, but it's more than that now. You've already highlighted a couple of other things around the skills. It's the right people, the right place, with the right skills, with the right tools, coming back to your other point as well. But then also happy employees, and, the employees that want to stay for a business. Resource planning should also be about reducing shrinkage, yes, but also reducing attrition, etc., etc. I mean, do you have anything on that kind of employee engagement piece that you could share with us?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a sort of huge trend towards scheduling in employee aspirations and focusing on well-being as part of the mix. So I deal with three key stakeholders: the management team, the employees, and their representatives, who could be a works council or a trade union. And understanding the employees and their aspirations is absolutely core to getting a balanced quota and fit to demand. So when we're thinking about that within Optiforce, we're not only thinking about how do we best meet demand, we're thinking about how do we match demand with aspirations as well. And we think we've found a good process. So we use some good tools that we've developed in conjunction with the Russell Group University's Maths and Physics department. We tend to get great outcomes that people buy into. So even the trade unions and works councils, a lot of the time they start off with, the type of attitude that they want to get stuff done, but they're skeptical about things, which is natural. But if you can make things transparent and work together and produce a consensus-based outcome, it's often stronger and sticks inside the company and gives HR and operational managers a lot less of a headache once people are bought into it. So yeah, I think it's really important.
That's it. Have you got any success stories on that you could share so far? I know it's quite a new kind of thing you're working on, but is there anything you've seen that's kind of already working for it?
Yeah, there's plenty of implementations I've done within all of the different industries. And as I say, I remember walking into one organization as a manufacturer, and in a previous time, should we say, there was very, very poor industrial relations with this particular management team and with the trade union and the employees. But the process that I sort of implemented into in the project gave an outcome whereby people unfolded their arms and they say, you actually believe in the process now. Another example might have been a large motorway and roads project I worked on with some colleagues. And that was all about trying to focus on the well-being aspect and improve the situation for people. So process works, but it's requires, as you said before, very much an investment in engagements up front, then an analysis and sharing of demand, and then a design of shift patterns. And what I tend to do is get the employees trained up, get say 2 to 4 employees trained up to assist me with the shift pattern design, and then the employees make a recommendation or the working group makes a recommendation. So it's very much a facilitated approach where I'm trying to do a knowledge transfer of what I know, and then they use either their own workforce management system or they procure a new one. But it's much more about how do we get a shift pattern that all three stakeholder groups buy into. And then, as I say, that produces a lot less of a headache for HR teams and operations managers. So.
No, brilliant. And obviously, just looking back at your career and stuff, I mean, you've already in the 10 minutes we've been talking, you've mentioned, 5 or 6 different industries. You say you started off in the contact center planning, where a lot of people in planning do start. Not everyone, but a lot of people do. You've obviously you mentioned manufacturing, you mentioned hotels, you've mentioned service stations, you've mentioned let's say IT. There's, numbers of different industries. I mean, obviously, you have seen the impact that resource planning can have on different operations and businesses, etc. I mean, do you mind just giving us kind of a bit of an overview of maybe your biggest achievement or biggest kind of thing, or just even like the importance of resource planning in your point of view to any business, really? Because obviously you've seen it from all these different angles and operations.
Yeah, so I had quite an evolution, really. So I started off with BT and started off with outsourced contact center division, and worked on lots of different projects from Virgin, ScotRail, Marks and Spencer's, Flowers, I think it was at the time, Guernsey Flowers.
Right.
But it was very much a contact center environment. And then we used a piece of software called QMax, which was the leading WFM system in the UK. But again, it was very focused on contact centers. So I thought the only thing that you resource planned and forecasted and was contact centers. I didn't have any clue. Then I went to work for a German company called Envision, and Envision really started to do non-contact center resourcing and sold workforce management systems to all sorts of organizations, but still they were quite contact center focused. So again, I didn't really get much opportunity to do that. And then after a placement via Douglas Jackson, they got me a job in another specialist consultancy, which focused on lots of different industries. That was my baptism of fire. So I worked first 2 years. I think I was really questioning myself. It's so difficult going into these different requirements and different. But they all had one generic requirement, and that was they wanted a shift pattern that met demand, that was productive, and that at the same time met employee aspirations and delivered well-being or improvements in well-being. So after 2 years into the 5.5, or almost 5.5, just over 5 years, I then started to make sense to me. I could go into any industry at all. I mean, the range of industries was incredible in terms of this experience. And, you would map out demand. Tends to be some industries like airports might have a security desk, which is a bit like a call center, but it's not quite the same. So not the same type of algorithms to calculate demand as you'd use in contact center. And then other industries like manufacturing, there's 12-hour shifts. You've got a day shift, a night shift, but there's still a demand curve. There's still engagement needed. And in these other industries, there's a huge gap because they had sort of planning was outsourced almost to either the supply chain planners or the operations people or whoever. And now what I started to see was a bit more interest in investment in a planning function. So once you got your head around the multi-industry thing, then it was like, I was just really excited about working in a new industry. It was a new thing all of the time. And at one stage, I think for my sins, I managed 8 projects at once, which was I did most of my work in airports, flying around the place. And I suppose that managing 8 simultaneously 8 projects with one of the projects being the lead consultant, we got the job done. 2 great colleagues. And it was a 7 region, multi work stream project with thousands of employees. So I think the combination of that plus the 8 projects on the go at the same time was very, very tired, but all of them implemented. And so I think that was it. But it was a real eye opener, but you can do it in multiple industries.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. Thank you very much for saying. I think, as you mentioned throughout this call, the actual benefits of resource planning can be seen throughout. And to say, it's really interesting that you have worked in so many different industries and backgrounds, etc., to deliver the same results in so many different environments, as we say. So, just kind of one final question, I suppose, is what inspires you to keep going? Obviously, what's next? Where's your inspiration lie?
So what inspired me was to try and innovate more in the area of process and when I say technology, as Optiforce doesn't sell software, it uses its technology tools to deliver projects. And so them two things, innovating process and innovating technology, with this Russell Group University really provided me with a sort of slightly different way of doing the same thing, which tends to produce, in my opinion, and some of my clients' opinions, a better outcome. So you sort of get more of a balance between the needs of employees and the needs of the business, and everybody wins. So you get what I call a win-win-win. So it's like everybody uses the term win-win, but there's also representatives and employees as well need to win because they have a difficult job. They're in the middle of it between management teams, and also their own organisations are sometimes keen to push a particular type of way of doing stuff. So if you can get them 3 stakeholders, management team, employees, and their representatives, trade unions, all works councils, a bit of a different setup in each one, but that's what I've tended to focus on. I thought there was space to innovate, and I'm very happy with the outcome.
No, brilliant stuff. No, thank you very much. So, Damian, it was a pleasure learning about your career and obviously your achievements to date, and obviously just getting your point of view on things. To say you've been there, you've done it, you've worn many t-shirts throughout your career. So obviously, I'm sure people will be very very happy to listen about your opinions. So thank you very much for sharing that. Just finally, before we shoot, as you've already mentioned, Douglas Jackson have placed yourself previously. We've known you for many years. Would you mind just sharing a quick kind of overview on your experience that you've had with Douglas Jackson? And if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, my impression, aside from being very professional, very open to discussions, and also very willing to share best practice. So I get regular emails. I'm still learning stuff as we all are. So I get regular emails on things like, how to improve your LinkedIn page, which I've implemented, how to improve your CV. I think there's very much client focused would be my summary of it. In particular, I've worked, had dealings with Perry and also Michelle in the past. And they do things a little bit differently than your average recruitment consultant. It's not that. It's very different. And I think certainly for this type of position, in Optiforce or in other organisations, it's very much exactly what you need. The guys know a lot about the industry and the specialty, which I think is unique, and just a good experience all round. No complaints at all.
No, thank you very much for that. And thank you for sharing 10, 15 minutes of your time with us. That might be a bit longer, actually. We've had a good conversation. But yeah, thank you very much for sharing your experience and time today. And we look forward to catching up with you very soon.
Okay, thank you, Perry. Thanks a lot.
Cheers.
Bye. Bye.